why are Canadians so funny? Forget it. This guy's so funny. I don't want to ask that anymore. I just want to laugh at him. And I don't think what they brought to the party was distinctly Canadian. And one of the things you hear a lot in Canada is Canadian content. And, the CRTC is always trying to legally enforce, Canadian culture on the networks and find ways to punish them if they're not doing enough for Canadian content. And I think it really creates almost like a kind of a subculture, like prohibition. Do you know what I mean? Where people can kind of do this kind of stuff for Canadian content under the table. All right, we did our thing. Okay, now bring in the barrels of whiskey and let's start the party. I do think that there's a little bit of that when you have a government legislating and mandating that entertainment should reflect the culture. What are you going to do? Are you going to do another, documentary on the loon? I mean, we on SCTV made fun of that, and so I think that they've done more damage to Canadian culture by trying to legislate it and mandate it. And one of the stories that I get asked about a lot is Rick Moranis and I started Bob and Doug McKenzie, who became Canadian kind of icons in Canada. Based on what? They wore parkas and toques and drank beer, made back bacon sandwiches on a little Coleman stove, and sat in front of a map of Canada. And that made them cultural icons. It's kind of weird. And smarter guys than me have written about this, and they're in textbooks now. And, the United States has a lot of cultural icons. And, you got George Washington, for everything from George Washington to Superman and Batman. And, Canada doesn't have a lot of cultural icons. You got a Mountie, you've got maybe the Queen, you got a beaver, and then Bob and Doug. Do you know what I mean? There aren't a lot of... So it wasn't hard to become an icon, especially with the advantage of television. But those two characters were created because the CBC mandated that the extra 2 minutes in program length between the Canadian show of SCTV and the US version had to be distinctly Canadian. And as a mean satirical joke on the CBC, we said, well, what do you want us to do? Wear toques, parkas, drink beer, and sit in front of a map of Canada? And they said, yes. And if you could get a Mountie in there, that would be good too. And so that's what we did. And people thought it was funny because it was so stupid. And I mean, when you try to make entertainment an issue of nationalism, you get that. You get a stupid icon like Bob and Doug McKenzie. There you go, folks. You got what you wanted. I hope you enjoy it.